There is a moment beyond your calendar and clock, a moment that does not belong to human measurement. That is the moment when your desire, already complete in the unseen, takes shape in the visible world. You may call it waiting, but in truth, there is no waiting. The gift has been given the moment you asked, and you are simply moving into alignment with what already exists. When you understand this, impatience dissolves. You no longer plead or wonder when it will happen. You begin to live as though it has already occurred. You rise in the morning and carry yourself with the quiet assurance that everything is unfolding perfectly. You walk not as one seeking, but as one who has already received. Consider this: the tree does not rush to bear fruit the day after it is planted. Yet the seed, once placed in the soil, is already complete in its purpose. The fruit exists in potential, and time is simply the bridge that reveals what is already true. Your overflow is the same. It is not something to earn or chase. It is already yours, waiting for the right season to reveal itself. If you look at your life and see gaps, do not call them lack. They are spaces being prepared for fullness. What appears empty is not empty at all. It is the unseen gathering, arranging, and aligning. If you understood how precisely your life is being orchestrated, you would not try to force anything. You would release the struggle and rest in the assurance that the perfect moment cannot be missed. Release the belief that you must strive endlessly for what belongs to you. You cannot lose what was already assigned to your spirit. You cannot miss what is already finished in the eternal. Your only task is to remain in the state of having, to live as though the promise is fulfilled now. Do not confuse silence with absence. Just because the outer world is still does not mean nothing is happening. Beneath the surface, doors are swinging open. People are being positioned. Opportunities are being shaped. And when the timing is right, it will seem sudden, but in truth, it was always certain. Overflow is not coming to you. Overflow is already surrounding you. You are stepping into awareness of it, and as you persist in that knowing, life has no choice but to mirror your inner conviction. In the realm of spiritual law, there is no such thing as delay. What we perceive as waiting is simply the human mind attempting to measure what cannot be measured by clocks or calendars. The moment a desire is born within you, its fulfillment is already set in motion. It is not a future event struggling to be formed. It is a completed reality existing now in the unseen. Imagine planting a seed. You do not stand over it demanding immediate fruit. You understand that the seed has its own rhythm, a natural order that cannot be rushed without damaging its eventual harvest. The same principle governs the unfolding of your desires. They are seeds already sown in the invisible soil of your consciousness, and they will appear above the surface at the exact moment they are ready, not a second before and never a second too late. This is why impatience often leads to struggle. The mind, accustomed to controlling outcomes, believes it must make things happen or push circumstances into place. But divine timing is not about human manipulation. It is about alignment. When you attempt to force what is not yet ripe, you are like someone pulling on the stem of a flower to make it grow faster, only to harm what was already perfectly on its way. What you seek is already complete. In the unseen dimension, where cause originates, your answered prayer is whole and intact. Life is not deciding whether to give it to you. Life is preparing you to hold it, sustain it, and experience it fully. If certain doors seem closed right now, it is not punishment, it is protection. If a path feels delayed, it is because something better aligned with your ultimate good is being woven together behind the scenes. Every apparent pause is purposeful. It may be shaping your character, deepening your faith, or guiding you to release old patterns that would have sabotaged your blessing if it had arrived too soon. There is a refinement that happens in the waiting season. a quiet strengthening that ensures when the moment comes, you will be ready to receive, not just temporarily but permanently. This understanding shifts your posture. You no longer approach life as if you are at the mercy of chance. You stop begging and start embodying. You wake each day knowing that unseen forces are working on your behalf. You carry yourself as though what you desire is already true, because in the only place that matters, the spiritual realm, it is. And when divine timing reveals itself, it often appears sudden to the outer world, but to your inner knowing it feels natural. The job offer that came out of nowhere, the relationship that just happened, the opportunity that seemed too perfect to be planned. None of these are accidents. They are the visible results of invisible certainty. The key is to remain steady in faith rather than restless in fear. Fear asks, what if it never happens? Faith declares, it has already happened, I am simply stepping into. Therefore, trust that nothing is being withheld from you. Trust that life is not late. Trust that the same intelligence that causes the sun to rise and the tides to move is guiding your desires to perfect fulfillment. What belongs to you cannot miss you. What is aligned with your highest good will arrive exactly when it is meant to, and when it does, you will see why it could not have come a moment sooner. What you long for is not something waiting to be created. It is something that already exists. There is an invisible reality, a higher dimension beyond physical sight, where every desire you hold is already whole. When you understand this, the exhausting need to chase, force, and strive begins to dissolve. You no longer approach your goals as if they are far away or uncertain. Instead, you realize that they are already present in a form your physical senses cannot yet register. Think of a radio signal. The station you want to hear is already broadcasting right now. It doesn't start transmitting when you turn the dial. It was always there. Your task is not to build the signal or convince it to exist. It is to tune yourself to the correct frequency so that what was unseen becomes audible. In the same way, your desires are not future possibilities, they are present realities. The work is not to chase them in the outer world, but to align yourself inwardly so they can appear in your outer experience. Alignment begins with the awareness that what you want is already yours. When you constantly act as though it is far away, you are affirming separation, and life mirrors that feeling by keeping it at a distance. But when you shift into the assumption that it already exists now, you close the gap between longing and receiving. You stop behaving like a seeker and begin to live like someone who has found. This inner shift requires more than positive words. It requires a change in state. Ask yourself, what would I feel, believe, and do differently if I knew that my desire already existed right now? When you start answering that question and living from its answers, you move from chasing to embodying. And embodiment is what transforms the invisible into the visible. Chasing keeps you in a state of lack. It is rooted in the belief that something is missing and must be hunted down. But alignment is rooted in certainty. It is the calm knowing that you are stepping into what is already prepared for you. This is not passive waiting, it is active faith. You deliberately shape your inner world, your thoughts, emotions, and self-concept to match the reality you want to experience. Imagine a sculptor revealing a statue hidden within a block of marble. He does not create the figure out of nothing. He removes what does not belong so that what is already there can emerge. Your life works the same way. The abundance, love, opportunities, and overflow you seek are already here. What must be removed are the doubts, fears, and stories that blind you to their presence. When you accept that the unseen reality is complete, you stop living in desperation. You stop asking, when will it come? And begin affirming, it is here now, and I am aligning with it. You stop trying to force outcomes and start allowing them to unfold. And in that allowing, circumstances, people, and events begin to arrange themselves in ways that often seem miraculous. Life mirrors what you assume to be true. If you carry yourself as one who lacks, lack will reflect back. If you carry yourself as one who already has, the physical world must eventually match that state. It has no choice, because the outer world is a shadow of the inner one. Therefore, stop chasing and start aligning. Your desires are not distant, they are simply invisible until you tune to their frequency. When you hold to this inner knowing, what was once unseen will have no choice but to take form. And when it does, you will realize it was never absent. It was always here, waiting for you to see. The bridge between where you are and where you wish to be is not built by effort, struggle, or constant outer action. It is built by your inner state, the feeling you choose to inhabit. The fastest way to draw what you want into your life is to begin living as though it is already yours. This is not pretense, nor is it a game of imagination detached from reality. It is the recognition that your inner world creates the outer, and that assumption is the seed of manifestation. When you assume the feeling of already having, you are no longer seeking, you are being. You stop asking how will it come and start embodying it is already here. This shift in consciousness is powerful because the outer world is a mirror, not a creator. It reflects the state you persist in. If you carry the vibration of lack, thinking about what you don't have, worrying about time, or doubting your ability, life will continue to confirm that feeling with matching experiences. But the moment you assume the state of fulfillment, life must eventually conform. Consider the way actors step into a role. For the duration of the performance, they adopt the posture, tone, and mindset of the character they are playing. The body follows the mind. In the same way, when you deliberately step into the role of your fulfilled self, walking, speaking, and thinking as that version of you, your subconscious begins to accept it as fact. And what the subconscious accepts, the outer world must reveal. This is why simply visualizing your goal is not enough. If you imagine wealth but feel poor, if you affirm love but feel unworthy, the dominant vibration remains lack. The key is not merely to think about the desire, but to feel its reality now. Ask yourself, if I truly had it today, what would I feel? What would I say? How would I behave differently? Then begin living from those answers, not someday but now. This assumption changes your decisions. You might treat yourself with more care, invest your time differently, or speak with greater confidence, because you are no longer acting from scarcity. You are moving from the energy of someone who already possesses. And because your external world is simply a projection of your internal one, opportunities, ideas, and people begin aligning to support that state. Some will call this acting as if, but there is a deeper truth. You are not pretending. You are choosing to identify with the higher version of yourself. Pretending implies that what you seek is not real, but assumption declares that it is the most real thing there is. It just hasn't yet taken physical form. This practice is not always comfortable because your senses may scream the opposite. Your bank account may not yet show the wealth. Your home may not yet reflect the abundance. Your circumstances may not yet reveal the overflow. But that is precisely when assumption matters most. If you only believe when you see, you are reacting to the world rather than creating it. Creation happens when you persist in the unseen feeling until the outer world has no choice but to rearrange. Ha-da-da-da. You cannot fake a state to life. You must dwell in it consistently. It becomes natural as you repeat it, just as any habit becomes second nature with practice. At first, it might feel like an act. Eventually, it becomes who you are. And when it becomes who you are, it becomes what you experience. The outer world is compelled to match the inner conviction. It cannot resist a persistent state of assumed fulfillment. So begin now. Live as though the door has already opened, the prayer has already been answered, the overflow is already present. because in the unseen it is. And as you hold that feeling steadily, life itself must conform, because the world is simply reflecting you. When something you deeply desire has not yet appeared, it is easy to label the gap between intention and fulfillment as a delay. The human mind, conditioned to measure life by hours, deadlines, and visible results, quickly assumes that waiting means something is wrong. Yet in the higher order of life, there are no delays, only perfect sequences. What feels like a pause is not punishment, it is precision. Think of a symphony. Every instrument has its moment to enter, and each note is placed with exact timing. If the violins began too early or the drums struck too soon, the harmony would be lost. Similarly, your manifestations involve an intricate arrangement of people, opportunities, and events. They must align in such a way that when your desire arrives, it comes with stability, not chaos, with fullness, not fragments. They approach soul attractive. What you perceive as waiting is simply the time required for this unseen orchestration to complete its work. Often, if what you wanted had appeared the moment you asked for it, you would not have been ready to hold it. You might have lacked the confidence, skills, or emotional grounding necessary to sustain it. The very thing you are waiting for might have slipped through your fingers because you had not yet grown into the version of yourself capable of keeping it. Life in its wisdom does not rush you into blessings that would overwhelm you. It prepares you to receive them fully. Preparations, seasons are often uncomfortable because they ask you to trust what you cannot yet see. They strip away old patterns, relationships, and beliefs that cannot coexist with your new reality. They may feel like loss, but they are actually making room. You cannot pour new wine into old wineskins without spilling. Likewise, you cannot step into a higher experience while clinging to a lower state of being. The delay is the space where transformation happens, so that your outer world can match your inner vision. During this phase, you are not powerless, you are being shaped. Every challenge strengthens your ability to stand in faith. Every closed door redirects you toward what truly belongs to you. Every seeming detour develops qualities, patience, persistence, clarity, that will become essential once your desire manifests. Instead of asking, why is it taking so long? A more powerful question is, who am I becoming while I wait? Because it is your identity, not the clock, that determines the speed of manifestation. Consider the example of planting a field. The farmer does not panic when the seeds do not sprout overnight. He knows that growth is happening beneath the soil long before it can be seen. If he were to dig up the ground each day to check for progress, he would damage the very roots forming beneath the surface. Likewise, when you constantly question and worry, you disturb the unseen process already working for you. Faith is the ability to leave the soil undisturbed while knowing that life is at work. And when the right moment comes, what once felt slow will suddenly feel immediate. The pieces that seemed unrelated will fit together perfectly. Opportunities will appear that you could not have planned, and people will enter your life as though they were waiting for this exact moment. You will see that the so-called delay was never a barrier, it was the bridge. So stop calling it waiting and start calling it preparation. Stop fearing the gap and start honoring it as sacred space. Trust that what is meant for you is not running away, it is being refined, expanded, and perfectly positioned. And when it arrives, you will not wish it had come sooner. You will recognize that it could not have come a moment earlier and still have been this good, this stable, and this complete. One of the most difficult yet transformative lessons to embody is this: you do not have to force life into giving you what already belongs to you. The belief that you must constantly push, chase, and manipulate circumstances to make things happen is born from fear. Fear that if you stop striving, everything will collapse. Yet the opposite is true. The more you attempt to control every outcome, the more resistance you create, and the further your desired reality feels. Force is rooted in scarcity. It says, I must make this happen before it slips away. Flow, however, says it is already mine. I simply allow it to unfold. When you live in a state of constant effort, you send a subtle but powerful signal to your mind and to life itself. I do not believe it will come unless I fight for it. That very belief delays the manifestation because it reinforces separation rather than completion. Releasing control does not mean becoming passive. It does not mean abandoning your desires or taking no action. It means that your actions are inspired rather than anxious, guided rather than frantic. There is a difference between moving from trust and moving from desperation. One feels light, intentional, and aligned. The other feels heavy, exhausting, and unsustainable. When you truly believe that what is yours cannot miss you, you stop rushing timelines. You stop obsessing over the how. You stop micromanaging life, trying to manipulate people, events, or circumstances into delivering your desire. Instead, you begin to make choices from a place of certainty. You know the path will open. You know opportunities will arise. You know that even setbacks are simply redirections towards something better aligned. Think of water flowing down a river. It moves steadily, powerfully, and without struggle. It doesn't stop to argue with rocks or force itself through impossible walls. It simply finds the natural path and trusts gravity to carry it forward. Your life works the same way. When you release the need to control every detail, you allow the current of life to guide you to your destination with far less effort than you imagine necessary. Control feels safe to the mind because it gives the illusion of power. But true power comes from surrender. Surrender is not weakness. It is the strength to trust something larger than your immediate understanding. It is the awareness that there are countless unseen factors working for your good. People you haven't met, doors you don't yet know exist, solutions your logical mind cannot yet see. By trying to force outcomes, you cut yourself off from those higher possibilities. By releasing force, you create space for them to find you. Ask yourself, am I trying to make this happen because I don't trust it will happen on its own? If the answer is yes, then pause, breathe, remind yourself life has carried you to this moment without your control over every detail. The sun rises without your effort, your heart beats without your instruction. The intelligence that governs those things also governs your desires. It knows the way far better than your limited perspective. When you rest in certainty, you still take action, but your actions become lighter, more precise, and more effective because they are not driven by fear. You no longer waste energy forcing what isn't ready or clinging to what is meant to fall away. You act when inspired, and you rest when intuition tells you to wait. You trust that space and stillness are not losses. They are necessary parts of the process. What is truly yours cannot miss you. It will not pass you by because it is tied to your very being. It will find you, often in ways more effortless and beautiful than your plans could have arranged. The moment you stop trying to force life, you begin to see just how capable life is of bringing you exactly what you need, without struggle, without chaos, and without fear. At your core, you are not lacking. You were not created to struggle endlessly for every resource, opportunity, or blessing. The essence of life itself is abundant. Look at nature and you will see proof everywhere. Trees do not produce a single leaf. They produce thousands. Oceans do not give you a drop. They give waves that never cease. The sun does not ration light. It pours it endlessly. If creation itself operates in overflow, why would you, a part of that creation, be excluded from it? And scarcity is a learned perception, not a universal truth. It is an illusion created by the mind when it believes that supply is limited, that opportunities are rare, and that only by competing or clinging can you have enough. But the deeper reality is that abundance already surrounds you. It is woven into the fabric of existence, Every possibility, every resource, and every outcome you could need already exists. Your task is not to create abundance, but to align with it by removing the mental filters that block your awareness of it. Until you have come to the village, this shift begins within. If you see the world as limited, you will experience it as limited. Your assumptions become the lens through which you interpret life, and life simply reflects those assumptions back to you. When you believe there is not enough money, time, love, or opportunities, you unconsciously make choices, take actions, and even interpret neutral situations in ways that reinforce that belief. It becomes a self-fulfilling cycle. But the opposite is equally true. When you accept that overflow is natural, you begin to see evidence of it everywhere. You notice doors opening where none seem to exist. You receive unexpected gifts, opportunities, and connections. You stop clutching tightly to what you have, fearing loss, and instead move through life with an open hand, knowing that release creates space for more. Persisting in the awareness of abundance requires discipline. The outer world may present temporary appearances of lack, bills that seem larger than your income, opportunities that seem out of reach, or moments where you feel unseen or unsupported. In those times, it is easy to default to old patterns of fear and scarcity, but true mastery is choosing to hold the state of overflow, even when the physical evidence has not yet caught up. Ask yourself, what would I think, feel, and do differently if I knew I lived in a world where there was always more than enough? Begin to embody those answers now. Perhaps you would feel calmer about spending, more generous with your time, or more confident in pursuing opportunities without desperation. As you persist in that inner state, the outer world begins to rearrange to match it. Scarcity contracts, abundance expands. Scarcity clings, abundance releases. Scarcity fears the future, abundance trusts the flow. Each day, you have the choice to operate from one state or the other, and whichever you choose, life will mirror it back to you. This is not about ignoring practical action, it is about the consciousness behind the action. Two people can take the same step, apply for a job, start a business, or make an investment. But if one does so from fear and the other from certainty, their results will be vastly different. The universe does not respond to mere movement, it responds to the energy and belief behind that movement. Therefore, begin living as if overflow is not something you are chasing, but something you are surrounded by right now. Notice the abundance that already exists. Air to breathe, opportunities to learn, relationships to cherish, and countless unseen forces moving in your favor. The more you acknowledge it, the more it expands. Overflow is not a future promise, it is your present reality waiting to be recognized. Persist in that awareness, and life will have no choice but to reflect it. Because you cannot remain in a state of true abundance internally without eventually seeing its form externally. Everything you seek, overflow, abundance, opportunities, and answered desires, already exists in the unseen. Divine timing is never late, the unseen reality is complete, and your role is to align rather than force. By assuming the feeling of already having, you dissolve impatience, release control, and trust that what is yours cannot miss you. The apparent delays are not denials, they are preparation, making you stronger, wiser, and more capable of holding the very blessings you desire. Scarcity is only an illusion. Your natural state is overflow. When you persist in that awareness, life will eventually conform to your inner certainty, because the outer world has no choice but to reflect your dominant state. So walk in assurance. Live as though the promise is fulfilled now. Trust the process. Rest in faith and know that your manifestation is not approaching, it is already here, waiting for you to see it. Thank you for listening. Stay aligned, stay aware, and remember, overflow is already yours. You are standing at the threshold of an unseen river, one that carries with it more wealth, more opportunities, and more prosperity than you have yet experienced. This river is already flowing in your direction. Your part is not to force its current, not to demand when or how it arrives, but to remain open to receive it. Wealth is not something you chase, it is something you allow. It begins as an inner conviction, a quiet knowing that life is abundant and that you are part of that abundance. When you feel rich in consciousness, when you walk, speak, and think as though your supply is already overflowing, you magnetize external evidence that matches that inner wealth. But notice this. Many people unknowingly turn away the very prosperity moving toward them because they hold on to doubt, fear, or small ideas of what is possible. They cling to old assumptions. I've never been lucky, or it's too hard to make money. And by doing so, they build walls around their own river. Let those walls fall. Wealth doesn't need your struggle. It needs your readiness. Imagine for a moment that you already have the financial freedom you've long desired. See yourself living as though it's done. Bills paid with ease, choices made without fear, generosity flowing naturally from you. Feel it as real, not as a distant dream, but as a present fact. The more you dwell in that feeling, the faster life rearranges itself to meet you there. And when the evidence begins to appear, and it will, it may not look like the picture you first imagined. Opportunities might come disguised as small chances, new people, or ideas that seem simple but open massive doors. Stay open. Stay receptive. If you insist it must come in one specific way, you might miss the wealth that's already trying to reach you. Right now, unseen forces are aligning to deliver resources, connections, and possibilities that will exceed what you believe is possible. All you must do is assume it's already in motion, live as though it's true, and allow yourself to receive without resistance. Massive wealth is not far away. It's moving toward you even now. Stay open. True riches do not start with numbers on a bank statement, assets on paper, or anything that can be measured in material form. They begin in the quiet realm of your own consciousness. Wealth is first a state of being, an inner atmosphere that you cultivate long before external evidence appears. If you do not hold abundance within, even large sums of money can feel insufficient. Conversely, when you embody wealth internally, circumstances eventually bend to mirror that inner conviction. This understanding shifts the way you approach prosperity. Most people are taught to see money as the source of security, power, and opportunity. They chase it, strive for it, and worry about its absence. Yet chasing wealth often reinforces the belief that you do not already have it. You live from a sense of lack, and life responds in kind. The deeper truth is that life reflects your dominant assumptions. If you feel small, your results shrink. If you feel abundant, your outer world begins to arrange itself around that assumption. What does it mean to feel wealthy when the evidence is not yet there? It means choosing thoughts that align with sufficiency instead of scarcity. It means refusing to identify yourself as someone who never has enough, and instead quietly affirming, I live in an abundant universe and I am supported. At first, this shift may feel unnatural. Your mind may argue, look at the bills. Look at the account balance. Look at the reality. But external reality is not the cause, it is the effect. The cause is always your inner state. When you adopt the state of wealth, you carry yourself differently. Your posture changes, your choices change. You are less reactive to fear-based decisions. You begin to notice opportunities that once slipped past you because you are focused on survival rather than expansion. People respond to you differently because they sense confidence rather than desperation. This is not about pretending or faking success. It is about inhabiting the mental and emotional qualities that genuine abundance produces. Consider how someone who knows they are financially secure moves through the world. They do not cling to every dollar. They do not panic at every unexpected expense, and they certainly do not speak constantly about not having enough. Their words, feelings, and actions flow from an assumption of sufficiency. You can begin to adopt that same inner posture now, even before your outer circumstances match it. You may still budget carefully, you may still work hard, but you no longer do it from fear. You do it from strength. Wealth as a state of being also requires releasing envy and comparison. If you see someone else thriving and feel resentment, you reinforce the idea that abundance is limited and that another person's gain reduces your own chances. In truth, the universe does not operate on a fixed supply. The fact that others are prospering is proof that wealth is available. It is evidence that it can flow to anyone willing to align with it. Start by practicing gratitude for what you already have, however small it may seem. Gratitude is not simply a moral exercise, it is a practical one. When you notice what is already present, you shift your emotional state. That shift raises your perception, allowing you to see opportunities and ideas you might have ignored in a mindset of lack. Over time, consistent gratitude builds the very inner abundance that later translates into outer wealth. Ultimately, money is a byproduct, not the foundation. If you focus only on the numbers, you may accumulate temporary success, yet still feel poor, worried about losing it, striving endlessly to maintain it. When wealth becomes your inner state first, external gains arrive with greater stability, because they are anchored in a deeper belief that you are already enough, that life is already generous, and that your well-being is not fragile. When you hold that conviction, physical wealth has no choice but to meet you there. Everything you see around you, every building, invention, work of art, and technological advancement, existed first as an image in someone's mind. Reality does not originate outside of you. It begins in the inner world of imagination. What you consistently see, feel, and accept as true in your mind must eventually take form in your outer life. This is no poetic metaphor, it is a principle of creation. Most people believe they are reacting to life as it happens, shaping their thoughts and emotions based on external events. But the sequence actually runs in the opposite direction. Your inner imagery and assumptions set the stage for the experiences you later call real. You are not merely an observer of reality, you are a participant in its making, whether consciously or unconsciously. Think of a time when you worried intensely about something that had not yet happened. You may have played out scenarios, imagined conversations, or felt the physical tension as if the event were real. Often those exact circumstances, or something very close to them, unfolded later. The same mechanism works in the opposite direction for positive outcomes. When you repeatedly imagine yourself succeeding, feeling confident and achieving your goals, you begin to act and respond in ways that align with that vision. People notice. Circumstances shift. What began as an invisible picture starts becoming visible. This process does not require force. You do not have to manipulate others or struggle to make life match your imagination. Your role is to hold the mental image with consistency and emotion, trusting that life's events are fluid enough to rearrange themselves around your inner state. The clearer and more natural your imagined scenes feel, the faster they influence your choices, behaviors, and ultimately the opportunities that appear. But here is where most people falter. They imagine briefly, then cancel it with doubt. They may spend a minute picturing wealth, love, or success, and then spend the next hour thinking, it's never going to happen, it's too late, I don't see any way this could work. That is like planting a seed and immediately digging it up to check if it's growing. True creative imagination involves persistence. You continue to return to your chosen mental picture, regardless of current evidence. Another key element is emotional involvement. Simply thinking words like, I want to be successful, carries little power if it is flat and detached. You must feel it as though it's already real. Hear the sounds, see the details, and sense the satisfaction of living in that future. When your mind believes it is experiencing something now, your body and actions begin to align with that belief. From there, outer events catch up. It is important to note that imagination is always creating, not just when you sit quietly and visualize. Every casual daydream, every mental complaint, and every what-if scenario shapes your state of mind. Repeated states become patterns, and patterns become experiences. That is why discipline over your inner world matters. You cannot always control what appears in your mind initially, but you can choose what you continue to entertain. Start practicing deliberate imagination by choosing one specific outcome you desire. Create a short mental scene that implies that desire is already fulfilled. For example, receiving congratulations, signing a contract, or feeling the relief of a paid-off debt. Replay it often, especially when your mind wanders toward worry or scarcity. Over time, this scene will feel familiar, almost like a memory rather than a wish. That feeling of already done is the point where imagination begins turning into reality. Everything physical is temporary, everything imagined is the blueprint that precedes it. When you learn to shape your inner images consciously, you stop waiting for circumstances to decide your life and start directing them from within. Reality has no choice but to follow the pictures you consistently hold. Wealth, opportunities, and success are naturally trying to reach you, yet most people unconsciously push them away. The barrier is rarely a lack of intelligence, talent, or even effort. It is resistance. Doubt, fear, and the constant need to control every outcome act as invisible walls that keep abundance from flowing into your life. Letting go of that resistance is not about giving up. It is about creating space for what you want to arrive. Resistance shows up in subtle ways. You may affirm that you want financial freedom, but simultaneously worry daily about bills. You may visualize a thriving business, but mentally replay every reason it might fail. You may say you trust life, but still micromanage every detail, believing that if you don't hold it all together, everything will collapse. Each of these reactions sends the same signal. I don't believe I can truly have what I desire. That signal shapes your choices, narrows your vision, and delays the very outcomes you are seeking. When you hold doubt or fear, your mind and body stay tense. In that state, creativity shrinks, intuition goes quiet, and opportunities pass unnoticed. You might miss connections, ignore ideas, or sabotage chances simply because your focus is locked on what could go wrong. Letting go of resistance means loosening that mental grip. It means trusting that the path to wealth does not need constant force or frantic action. Instead, it responds to clarity, confidence, and openness. One powerful way to release resistance is to stop demanding that you know exactly how your desire will unfold. The how is rarely yours to control. If you insist on one specific route, you may block faster or better ones that you cannot yet see. Imagine trying to catch water by clenching your fist. It slips away. Open your hand and it fills naturally. The same principle applies here. The more you try to force, the more life pushes back. The more you allow, the easier it flows. This does not mean you stop acting altogether. It means your actions shift in quality. Instead of coming from panic or scarcity, I must do this or I'll fail, your steps arise from calm certainty. I am already moving toward what is mine. That internal difference is noticeable. People respond better to you, decisions become clearer, and results arrive with less struggle. Another layer of resistance comes from old beliefs about worthiness. If you secretly feel undeserving, you may unconsciously repel wealth even as you claim to want it. You might overspend, undercharge, avoid opportunities, or choose situations that keep you small. To release that hidden resistance, practice affirming your own value daily. Remind yourself, it is safe for me to prosper. I'm allowed to receive. Abundance benefits me and those around me. These thoughts may feel uncomfortable at first if you're used to self-limiting stories, but over time they rewire the very foundation that determines what you allow into your life. Pay attention to how you feel when you think about your financial goals. If your chest tightens, your jaw clenches, or your stomach knots, that's resistance. Instead of ignoring it, pause and soften, breathe. Imagine releasing control, as though you are setting a heavy bag down after carrying it for too long. That emotional release is not weakness, it is power. It clears the space for solutions, ideas, and resources to appear. Wealth does not come through tension. It comes when you align with it internally and stop fighting unseen battles in your mind. The The moment you release fear, drop the need to control, and trust that abundance is already moving toward you, life begins to bring you what your struggle never could. To live from the end means to mentally and emotionally occupy the reality you desire before it appears physically. Instead of waiting for external proof to feel wealthy, secure, or free, you adopt the inner position that it is already yours. You act, think, and carry yourself as though the result you seek has already been achieved. This is not about pretending in the sense of empty play acting. It is about embodying the state of being that naturally produces your desired outcome. Most people live the opposite way. They respond to their current circumstances, letting bank balances, job titles, and external events dictate how they feel and what they believe is possible. If their finances look limited, they think limited thoughts and take actions that keep them there. If life offers no immediate sign of progress, they assume nothing is changing. By reacting to the present, they unintentionally perpetuate it. Living from the end breaks that cycle. Ask yourself, how would I think, speak, and behave if I already had the wealth I desire? Would you worry about small inconveniences? Would you constantly talk about what you lack? Likely not. You would make choices from a sense of stability rather than desperation. You would carry yourself differently, perhaps more confidently, more generously, and with less hesitation. That shift in identity is the core of this principle. Your external reality eventually mirrors the person you have chosen to become internally. This practice begins in imagination. Each day, create a mental scene that implies your goal is complete. See yourself experiencing the results, perhaps signing documents for a new home, giving generously without fear, or feeling the relief of financial freedom. Immerse yourself in that scene until it feels natural, as though you are recalling a memory rather than forcing a fantasy. The more real it feels inside, the sooner your subconscious accepts it as true, and your actions, perceptions, and opportunities adjust accordingly. But living from the end goes beyond private visualization. It influences how you show up daily, even small choices. How you speak about money, how you treat yourself, how you handle setbacks, should align with the version of you who already has what you want. If you believe your future self is calm and resourceful, practice being calm and resourceful now. If your future self invests rather than clings to every penny, start cultivating that same mindset on your current scale. These consistent choices bridge the gap between where you are and where you intend to be. A common misconception is that this means spending recklessly or ignoring reality. It does not. Living from the end is not about financial irresponsibility. It is about mental alignment. You still act wisely, but you do so without the energy of fear or scarcity. For example, you may still create a budget, but instead of thinking, I have to restrict myself because I don't have enough, you think, I am organizing my resources like someone who values and multiplies what they have. The external action may look the same, but the internal state is entirely different, and that state determines your results. Skepticism is normal at first. Your senses will insist that you are imagining something that isn't real. Yet every physical achievement, every business, invention, or personal transformation started as something unseen. Someone decided to embody a vision before the evidence appeared. By staying consistent, they pulled the invisible into the visible. When you truly live from the end, you stop waiting for wealth to prove itself to you. You decide that it already exists for you, and you adjust your identity accordingly. Over time, life reorganizes to match that decision. Circumstances shift, opportunities arise, and people appear to help bridge the gap you once thought was impossible. Acting and thinking as though you already possess the wealth you seek is not just a mindset. It is the key that turns possibility into reality. Faith in the unseen is the ability to trust in something before any physical evidence appears. It is the inner certainty that what you have imagined, desired, and aligned with is already yours in a reality beyond your senses, waiting to express itself. Most people only believe in what they can touch, see, or measure. But by the time something becomes visible, it is no longer creation. It is the result of what was once unseen. Everything physical began as an invisible possibility. A house starts as a blueprint, a symphony as a silent thought, and a fortune as an inner conviction. Without that prior belief, none of it could come into existence. The same principle applies to personal wealth, success, and transformation. If you wait to see it before you trust it, you remain trapped in the current conditions. Faith is the bridge between what you imagine and what you eventually experience. The challenge is that your senses will constantly argue with you. You might visualize abundance, yet your bank account shows lack. You may affirm prosperity, yet your job feels limiting. Your physical environment will always reflect past assumptions until new ones are allowed enough time to materialize. Faith is what holds you steady during that gap. It is the quiet conviction that although I cannot see it yet, it is already mine. This inner certainty changes how you act and respond. Without faith, small setbacks trigger fear. You panic, quit, or choose desperate actions that reinforce scarcity. With faith, you interpret challenges differently. A delayed payment is not proof of failure, it is just a moment in the process. A missed opportunity is not the end, it might be a redirection to something better. Faith allows you to remain calm and receptive, instead of contracting in fear. To cultivate faith, you must learn to rely less on external validation and more on inner evidence. Ask yourself, what does my imagination show me? How does it feel when I live in that vision? That feeling of completion, peace, security, and certainty is itself proof that something real is forming. You cannot sustain that feeling for long without life eventually echoing it back to you. Emotional conviction is a creative force. Faith also requires releasing the belief that you must know the exact path. You might not see how wealth can come to you from your current job, location, or connections, but faith doesn't demand that you figure it out. It only asks that you trust it exists. Often, the actual route surprises you. New people, ideas, and opportunities show up from directions you never expected. If you insist on controlling every step, you block those possibilities. Faith keeps the door open. Another aspect of faith is persistence. Many give up too soon because they assume delay means denial. Yet in reality, the unseen takes time to reorganize the visible. Seeds need time to grow underground before they break through the soil. You do not dig them up each day to check if they are sprouting. You water them, trust the process, and wait. The same patience is necessary when cultivating wealth or any desired change. Living with faith in the unseen does not mean ignoring reality. You still take actions, pay bills, and handle responsibilities, but internally, you stop identifying with the current limitations as permanent. You know they are temporary shadows of an old belief system. Your focus stays on the reality you have chosen, rather than the one you are leaving behind. The moment you accept that what you cannot yet see is already yours, you step into a different level of power. You no longer chase, you allow. You no longer panic, you expect. Faith in the unseen is not weakness. It is the very foundation upon which visible wealth is built. Hold it long enough, and the world will have no choice but to show you what you already know. When you decide to create a wealthier, more abundant life, you often imagine exactly how it will arrive. Perhaps through a promotion, a specific investment, or one particular business idea. But life rarely moves in straight lines. Opportunities that can completely transform your circumstances may come from directions you didn't predict. Staying receptive means holding your vision firmly while remaining flexible about the path. If you insist it must happen in only one way, you may overlook faster, easier, or more expansive possibilities that are already moving toward you. Receptivity is not passive. It is an active, attentive state of mind. It's the ability to notice subtle openings, to hear an idea and consider it rather than dismiss it, to recognize when someone offers a connection that could lead to something more. Most people miss these signals because they are too focused on controlling their circumstances. They work harder, push more, and cling to their own limited strategies, all while ignoring the quiet nudges life provides. Think about times when something good happened unexpectedly, a job offer, a chance meeting, or an idea that appeared out of nowhere. Those moments were possible because you were at least partially open. If you had been completely rigid, too busy, too skeptical, or too certain it had to look a certain way, you might have rejected or missed them entirely. Receptivity is the willingness to say, this might be the answer, even if it doesn't match what I imagine. One of the main blocks to receptivity is fear. Fear makes you want control, and control makes you narrow your focus. You tell yourself, I'll only feel safe if it comes from this exact source, by this exact time, and through this exact method. That mental rigidity doesn't just close you off emotionally, it also limits your awareness. You fail to see the countless doors life is quietly opening because you're staring at one locked door. To stay receptive, you must practice curiosity rather than judgment. When an idea or opportunity comes, instead of quickly dismissing it as too small, too risky, or not what I planned, ask, could this be part of the way forward? What if this is the beginning of something bigger? This doesn't mean you blindly accept everything that comes your way. It means you evaluate it with openness rather than fear. Another key to receptivity is releasing the timeline. If you demand that wealth arrive by a specific date, your anxiety will grow each day. It doesn't. That anxious energy often causes you to make rushed decisions or overlook better opportunities that need more time to develop. Staying receptive means trusting that the right channels will appear when they are meant to, and that your job is to remain ready, not desperate, but ready. And this is where also inner belief drags you down. Receptivity also includes being willing to grow. Sometimes the opportunity you need comes disguised as a challenge. For example, you may want financial freedom, and life presents you with a chance to learn a new skill, meet new people, or take on responsibilities that feel uncomfortable. In that moment, you can either resist, clinging to what feels safe, or embrace it as part of the process that leads to the wealth you've imagined. Being open means you are willing to expand into the version of yourself that can handle greater abundance. Ultimately, staying receptive is about trust. You hold the end result firmly in your mind. You know that abundance is yours, but you allow life to surprise you with the path. You stop micromanaging the how and instead focus on being prepared, alert, and flexible. You follow intuitive nudges, take inspired actions, and listen when something inside you says, pay attention here. When you remain receptive, you turn life into an ally rather than a battle. You realize that massive wealth may not arrive exactly as you expect, but it will arrive if you stay open enough to recognize it. By relaxing your grip, opportunities you never imagined possible can reach you, and often they exceed the plans you once thought were the only way. Massive wealth is not something you chase, it is something you align with. By embodying abundance as a state of being, using imagination deliberately, releasing resistance, living from the end, trusting the unseen, and staying receptive, you place yourself in the exact position where prosperity can reach you. The shift happens first inside, and once you hold that inner certainty consistently, life has no choice but to reflect it in visible form. Thank you for listening. Stay open, stay steady, and allow the wealth that is already moving toward you to find its way into your life. There comes a time in life when everything seems locked against you, doors appear closed, and the situation feels impossible. But I am here to tell you something that will change your life forever. God is about to turn the impossible into reality. The word impossible is a lie told by the senses. Your outer world is nothing more than the shadow of your inner state. The moment you begin to see beyond what your eyes can observe, you step into a realm where all things are possible. The absurdity, the philosophy of listen carefully. Your desire is not random. It was planted in you because its fulfillment already exists. If it were not possible, you could not even imagine it. The seed of your dream carries its own completion. So, what must you do? Live in the end. Close your eyes and picture the life you long for as if it is already yours. Speak as though it is done. Feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude of it being complete. Do not wait for the evidence. Be the evidence in your mind. Understand this: the bridge of events will form. People will appear. Opportunities will rise from places you never expected. The world will bend to bring your inner picture into outer reality. But it all begins in you. And while you wait, do not fear delays, do not panic. Silence is your greatest power. Every doubt you entertain pushes the promise further away. Stand firm. Praise God for what you do not yet see. Speak words of gratitude, for the unseen is far more real than what your senses can touch. Today the impossible is becoming possible. Today what you thought could never happen is already moving toward you. Believe it. Accept it. Live it now. For God has already declared, it is done. What you call impossible is not a fact. It is a perception. It is nothing more than a belief you have accepted as true because your senses told you so. The world has taught you that some things can happen and others cannot. You have been conditioned to measure possibility by what you see, by what you hear, and by what others say. But I tell you, the impossible is only an illusion created by the mind that does not yet know its own power. Every great achievement in history was once considered impossible. Flying through the air was once madness, until a man believed differently. Speaking across continents in an instant was once a fantasy, until someone dared to imagine it real. Walking on the moon was a fairy tale, until faith in imagination made it a reality. The line between possible and impossible is drawn only by thought, and thought can change in an instant. When you call something impossible, what you really mean is that you do not know how it will happen. You are looking at the outer world and you cannot see the way. You cannot see the bridge. But the absence of a visible bridge does not mean there is no bridge. It only means it is invisible to the eye, yet fully formed in the unseen. The mind that believes in limitation will never find the way, but the mind that believes in possibility will always create one. So how do you dissolve impossibility? You do not fight it, you rise above it. You shift the way you see the world. Stop asking, how will this happen? And start affirming, it is already mine. The moment you claim it in your imagination, the moment you feel the reality of it within, the impossible begins to crumble. Because imagination is the creative power behind all that is seen. Everything you see today existed first as a thought, as an image, as an inner conviction. When you close your eyes and dare to believe that what you desire is already yours, you have stepped into the highest law of creation. The outer world cannot resist for long what is fully accepted within. It must conform. It must rearrange. It must bend to reflect the truth you hold. This is why impossibility is an illusion, because the creative process does not begin with what you see. It begins with what you believe. Do not allow appearances to dictate your faith. The senses are blind to the unseen forces that shape destiny. The next time your mind whispers, "This is impossible," smile and say, "No, it is done." Say it until you feel it. Live as though it is true. Walk with the quiet confidence that life is aligning with your inner conviction. For when you believe, when you persist, when you hold the picture without fear, impossibility dissolves like smoke in the wind. Nothing is beyond you. Nothing is too great. The word impossible is a prison built by doubt. Break the walls by believing and watch the world bow to the power of your faith. The moment a desire is born within you, it carries its own promise. Desire is not an accident, nor is it a cruel trick of life. It is the evidence that what you long for already exists for you, waiting to be claimed. You could not desire what is not possible. You could not imagine what does not exist in some dimension of reality. Every desire is a signpost pointing to something already prepared, something already complete, waiting for you to align with it. Think about this. Where does desire come from? It does not come from outside. It does not fall from the sky. It rises from within your consciousness, the same place where all creation begins. If it were not possible for you to have it, you would never be able to conceive it in your mind. The fact that you feel it, the fact that you long for it, means it is part of your path. It is already done in the unseen. You are not chasing after something uncertain, you are moving towards something guaranteed. But most people make a mistake. They treat their desire as something far away, as something to be achieved by struggle, as if they are starting from nothing. They do not realize that desire is not the beginning of creation. It is the sign that creation is already complete. The unseen world is more real than the visible one. Every picture you hold within your mind is a reflection of something that already exists in the invisible realm. Your role is not to create it, but to align with it, to believe in it so deeply that it steps out of the unseen and becomes your experience. When you understand this, you stop doubting your desires, you stop questioning whether you are worthy, whether you can afford it, whether the timing will work out. Those doubts are lies, for the desire itself is proof that it belongs to you. You did not choose it. It chose you. It was given to you because it was meant for you. Life never teases. It does not awaken longing without also preparing the way for fulfillment. So how do you claim what is already yours? You do it by living as though it is true. You assume the feeling of having it now. You speak as though the promise is fulfilled. You move with confidence, not because you can see it, but because you know the unseen is more certain than the seen. When you walk in this faith, when you persist in the conviction that your desire is the evidence of its own reality, nothing can stop it from manifesting. Do not ignore your desires and do not dismiss them as foolish dreams. They are whispers from a higher reality calling you forward. When you honor them, when you believe in them without fear, you align with the law of life. And then what was once only a thought begins to take shape. It comes in ways you cannot predict, through channels you cannot control. But it comes because it was always yours. Your desire is not a question, it is an answer. It is not a hope, it is a sign. It is proof of something finished, something waiting, something destined. Hold it, believe it, live it now. For what you desire is already here, and soon you will see it with your own eyes. The greatest secret to manifestation is this: you must live as though your desire is already accomplished. The world teaches you to wait for evidence before you believe, but the law of creation demands the opposite. You must believe before you see. You must feel the reality of what you want before it can take form. This is what it means to assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled. Your imagination is the workshop of reality. Everything that exists began first in the mind of someone who dared to feel it real. The house you live in, the clothes you wear, the very device you hold, all were first imagined by someone who lived in the end before it appeared. They walked through it in their minds. They felt the satisfaction of its completion long before others could see it. And that is why it became real. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, you are not pretending. You are aligning with truth, for what you imagine with faith becomes the blueprint that shapes your world. You cannot create anything by longing for it from a distance. Desire without assumption keeps your dream in the future, always beyond your reach. But the moment you move from wishing to feeling, the moment you claim it as done in consciousness, the process begins to unfold in your favor. Close your eyes for a moment and picture the life you want. Not as a dream, but as a present reality. See yourself there. Touch it with your senses in imagination. Hear the words you would hear if it were true. Feel the joy, the relief, the gratitude of living it now. This inner experience is not fantasy. It is the seed of manifestation. What you accept as real within must one day appear without. But you cannot waver. You cannot assume the feeling today and then doubt tomorrow. Consistency is the key. Hold the state until it hardens into fact. Let the feeling become your dwelling place. When the world contradicts you, do not abandon your inner truth. When nothing seems to happen, do not despair. The unseen is at work, arranging the pieces, opening the doors, moving the mountains. Your only task is to remain faithful to the end you have assumed. And when you live in this way, walking, talking, thinking as though your dream is here, you activate a power greater than circumstance. Opportunities appear, people show up, paths unfold that logic could never predict. Life begins to mirror the image you hold, and what was once a wish becomes your reality, not by chance, but by law. So do not wait to feel it when it comes. Feel it now. Let the joy of its fulfillment fill you today. Act, speak, and think as if the promise is already kept. For in the unseen it is. And the unseen always becomes seen when you persist in faith. The end is already yours. Live there in your mind, and soon you will live there in the world. Your imagination is not just a place for daydreams. It is the creative power that shapes your entire life. Every event, every circumstance you call real began first as an invisible picture held in the mind. What you see around you now is nothing more than the shadow of what was once imagined, by you or by someone else. The world does not move by chance. It moves by the inner images we entertain with persistence and belief. When you hold an image in your mind and feel it as real, you create a bridge of events that leads from where you are to the fulfillment of that picture. You may not see the bridge immediately. It is not built in the physical world first. It is constructed in the unseen. But once it is complete in imagination, life begins to rearrange itself to make it so. People will come into your life. Opportunities will open. Coincidences will appear, though nothing is truly a coincidence. It is all the outworking of the inner picture you have chosen to accept. Most people live as prisoners of the visible. They let the outer world dictate what they believe is possible. They say, I will believe it when I see it, and so they never see it. Because imagination never had a chance to plant the seed. Creation works the other way around. You must see it within before you can ever see it without. The unseen always precedes the seen. So I ask you, what pictures do you hold in your mind? Are they pictures of lack, limitation, fear? If so, you will cross a bridge to those very experiences. But if you dare to imagine abundance, love, health, success, and persist in that inner vision, you will move across the bridge to a life that reflects those images. The outer world cannot resist the inner conviction. It must conform. But here is the key. The bridge is not built by wishful thinking alone. It is built by sustained feeling. You cannot hold the image for a moment and then abandon it because you see no evidence. You must remain faithful to the unseen, even when the outer world shows you the opposite. The longer you hold that inner picture with confidence, the stronger the bridge becomes, until one day you find yourself walking upon it without even knowing how you got there. This is the power of imagination. It does not wait for logic. It does not require the approval of others. It does not care about statistics or facts. It simply creates according to the pictures impressed upon it with feeling. And the world, every circumstance, every event moves into alignment to make that picture real. So close your eyes tonight and paint the image of the life you desire. See it clearly, feel it deeply, live there in your mind until it feels like home. For once you have done this, the bridge is already built, and life will guide you step by step across that bridge to the fulfillment of your dream. Silence is not weakness, silence is strength. When you are silent, you stand in a place of unshakable confidence. You do not need to argue with circumstances, you do not need to beg or plead, and you certainly do not need to explain yourself to anyone. True power moves in silence, because silence speaks of certainty. When you ask for something in prayer or claim it in imagination, the work is already done, the seed is planted. But many people destroy that seed by speaking words of doubt, by running to others for reassurance, by complaining when they do not see instant results. Every word of fear, every thought of uncertainty is like digging up the seed you just planted. How can it grow if you keep disturbing the soil? Understand this truth. Doubt is the enemy of manifestation. The moment you doubt, you delay. The moment you let fear in, you push the fulfillment away. Why? Because you are stepping out of faith and back into the realm of appearances. You are saying, I don't trust the unseen, I only trust what I can see. But what you see is the past. It is the result of old thoughts, old beliefs, old feelings. If you want something new, you must remain faithful to the unseen. And the best way to stay faithful is through silence. Do not talk about your fears. Do not explain your dreams to those who will only discourage you. Do not argue with reality. Instead, retreat inward. In the quiet of your mind, hold fast to the picture of your desire fulfilled. Feel it so deeply that it becomes more real to you than anything you can touch or hear. That silent conviction is the force that moves mountains. When you remain calm and quiet, you show the universe that you trust the process. You trust that an unseen hand is working in your favor. You may not know how it will happen, but you know that it will, and that knowing is what creates the way. Doors open when you stop pounding on them. Paths appear when you stop forcing them. The stillness of faith speaks louder than the noise of desperation. So the next time you feel the urge to panic, to question, to cry out in fear, stop. Breathe. Withdraw into the silence of your inner world and remind yourself, it is already done. Let that be your meditation. Say nothing to those who cannot understand. Speak only in whispers of gratitude to the one who hears your heart. Then watch as life rearranges itself quietly, effortlessly, perfectly. Silence is not doing nothing. It is doing the greatest work of all. It is the posture of those who know that what they seek is already theirs. Remain silent, remain confident, and let the power that moves the stars also move every circumstance to bring your desire to life. Gratitude is the language of faith. When you give thanks for something you cannot yet see, you declare that it is already yours in the unseen. This is one of the highest acts of trust. Anyone can be grateful when the blessing is in hand, when the evidence is clear, when the miracle has already appeared. But gratitude before the manifestation, that is power. That is what moves the invisible into the visible. When you thank God for what has not yet shown up, you align yourself with the truth that creation is finished. You are saying with every fiber of your being, I believe it is done. And the moment you believe, the process is set in motion. Life responds not to begging, not to pleading, but to the vibration of certainty. And gratitude is certainty expressed. Think of the farmer who plants a seed. He does not stand over the soil in fear, wondering if something will grow. He knows the harvest is guaranteed because the seed is good and the law is sure. So he gives thanks in advance. He waters the ground with expectation. He celebrates the crop before it rises. This is how you must treat your desires. Once you have imagined the end and assumed it to be true, give thanks. Praise what you cannot yet touch as though it is already in your hands. Because in truth, it is. Gratitude shifts your mind from lack to abundance. When you are thankful now, you are no longer waiting. You are living in the reality of fulfillment. Waiting says, it will come one day. Gratitude says, it is mine now. And life will always mirror your dominant state. If you live in waiting, you will wait forever. If you live in thanksgiving, your world will rearrange to match your inner conviction. But you must feel it. Empty words will not move mountains. When you say thank you, let your heart overflow with the joy of already having what you desire. Picture yourself holding it, using it, living in it. Let the emotion of gratitude flood your soul until it feels real. because it is real in the unseen. That unseen reality is more certain than the shifting facts of the outer world. Do not speak of delays. Do not question the timing. Every time you doubt, return to thanksgiving. Say, "Thank you for this blessing that is already mine." Speak it when you wake. Speak it when you walk. Speak it when the night is dark and the evidence is nowhere in sight. Because gratitude is faith made visible, and faith is the bridge between what is and what shall be. So start today. Whatever you have asked for, whatever you have imagined, give thanks now. Give thanks before the door opens, before the answer comes, before the miracle shows up. Praise what you do not yet see, and it must appear. For nothing is more powerful than a heart that thanks in advance for what it knows is already done. What you once called impossible is no longer a barrier. It was only a shadow cast by doubt. Every desire you hold is not a random wish. It is a sign of something already complete in the unseen, waiting for your acceptance. When you assume the feeling of the wish fulfilled, when you trust your imagination to build a bridge, when you remain silent and unshaken, and when you give thanks before it appears, you align yourself with the highest law of creation. Do not wait for evidence. Create the evidence within. Walk in faith, speak with confidence, and live as though your dream is here now. The world will respond. It must rearrange itself to mirror the picture you hold inside, and in the right time, in the perfect way, what was once only an idea will stand before you as fact. Remember this always. The impossible exists only in the mind that doubts. Believe, persist, and give thanks, because it is already yours.